Hey everybody, and welcome to DC Fine Art. Today I wanted to go ahead and address the issues that I've been having this week. I have been having massive computer problems and recording problems. I thought it was my editor, then it turns out that it wasn't my editor, and I was thinking it was my recorder, like my OBS program that I had, that was having issues. Come to find out, it was actually my computer itself that was having issues. I mean, I still thought it was my OBS for a while until today. And it ended up being that I updated everything, but there was just too much, like megabytes or gigabytes or whatever it is that things were using and running in my applications and in my computer that literally it was slowing it down. So I went ahead and got rid of a lot of things that I didn't need or wasn't using or to stop running. So that way I was able to create space and create enough room to be able to do a video recording. So it took me a really long time. Now, for those of you that just kind of wonder if I disappeared off the face of the earth, no, I'm still here. Everything is okay now, hopefully. But I went ahead and posted on my YouTube community page. I don't know who sees that. I don't know if that just goes to just the subscribers that's on my channel. If you guys can see that, I don't know. I'm kind of new still to the YouTube stuff on doing, outside things. So you can check that and see like what's going on if something were to happen. Also, if you are on my Facebook artist page, that I have the link posted below. If you guys are on there, I will post updates on if I'm going to be late or if something's happening. Anything that goes on, I usually go ahead and post that to let you guys know ahead of time what is happening, especially for this issue. Some of you may wonder if I disappeared, but I didn't. Like I said, I'm still here. Bad thing is, the thing that I was actually recording for you guys, I lost it. So I am, like I said, on my Facebook artist group and on the YouTube community, I said I'm really going to try making lemons out of lemonade. So I think that's how it goes. Making lemonade out of lemons. Okay, I got it backwards. That's me. I'm typical. So anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue working on the piece that I had already done that you guys didn't get to see because I lost it. And I'm just going to kind of refresh and go over some of the things that I was doing just a little bit quicker. And then after I do that, I'm going to go back to my piece that I'm working on and just kind of show a little bit of that. I don't think I'm going to be recording the whole entire piece. I may end up, once I get done with it, show you maybe on the next video, whenever it's completed, show you how it's turned out. I really like to work from beginning to end, so kind of a bummer to get his head done and not have footage of that. I mean, yeah, doing some of the feathers and everything else, great, but I really wanted something, the main part to be with it too. So let's go ahead and jump on over. I'm going to turn you on to my table so that way you can kind of see what I'm doing. We're going to be doing a mixed media, just kind of showing what happens whenever you use watercolor, or if you're wanting to go on top of watercolor, and different types of watercolor. So I'm using these markers right here, which are watercolor markers by Faber Castell. Really interesting. So I will be using some of those along with the Winsor Newton tube watercolor. So I will be using that along with it, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. So let me go ahead and turn the camera over to you guys can see what I'm looking at instead of all of me. So there we go. I know you guys will see it, but I just seeing myself, jeez, especially on my bad hair day. It's okay. We will make it through this. That's what I keep on telling myself. We will make it through this. It will be okay. I want to put my hair up for a second. I don't want to can't see. So anyways, what I am going to be doing first off is I'm not going to create this whole entire piece just based off making a whole bunch of stuff. It's kind of used as a swash, so you can see that. So here we go, and I'm not going to redo what I just did on the other one. So we're going to use these watercolor markers, which are really, really cool. Let me get some of these color pencils out of the way. I picked out all my colors for my bird. I hope that's not too loud on your guys' ears. Okay. So here's the two brushes I'm going to use. This one here is a number 12, like a round, or not a round, but like a filbert number 12. This is the round, number 16 round. So I will be using that. I can still hear my computer like trying to cool itself down. I literally am hoping and praying that this video will come out. So let me stop it for just a second. You guys won't notice anything. I'm going to double check my recording to make sure it is recording and not freezing up on me. But you will not notice that I'm gone. Okay, so I am back, and yeah, I mean, it was kind of glitching out a little bit at the beginning of this, but it should be fine now. At least I'm hoping. If not, looks like the only thing I'll have to worry about is just trying to do another sample paper. So this is what I'm doing. I am using, like I said, this sheet of paper here is the Faber Castell, or not Faber Castell. These are the Faber Castell watercolor markers. I've got gray here. Don't know if you guys can see it or not. This is gray. I got another gray here, cold gray. So they're both cold gray. One's number 235 and the other one's 233. And this one here looks like my computer's trying to cool down again. Wow. Okay, and this is $1.99. Wonder if I make it bigger. Hold on 1 second. I don't know if I can go into settings and still record at the same time, but maybe I can. Not for sure. Nope, it won't let me mess with it. So, output scale resolution. I guess I'm just going to hope for the best here. And we are going to move on because I don't know what else to do besides move on, and hopefully it works. Otherwise, I'm going to go back to recording on my phone instead, which is really, really sad. But, all right. And so the color or the paper that I'm using on the actual piece, I just dropped my marker, is the Arches hot pressed watercolor paper. Now and it's the hot pressed of it. Now the one that I'm using for my desert little buzzard that I was doing, it was the same type of paper. It's just in the block where it's actually sealed around the corners of it, so that way it doesn't like bow up and stuff, and it keeps it more flatter. Either that, or you could tape it down to a board like this and use it. But yeah, I decided to use the same type of paper nonetheless. So this is what I'm going to do. I am going to spray down my paper just a little bit here. And that's what I did with using some of these markers. I guess you don't really have to. I started out using like a light color, like in here. Just kind of putting in some lighter colors for the gray. And then as I go down, I would do a little bit darker. This is a cold gray also, kind of coming in a little bit bluish in there, which is perfectly fine. And then I will go in with my gray. Now on these markers, they do have dual tips. So they do have the other side, which is a little bit more of a finer point, than using the other side, which is more like a brushed nib on it. So then after I do that, I'll take my watercolor pencils. I don't know why I laid them on top of my paper towel here. I'm going to use them. And basically go over it if I have enough water on my brush. And all I did was just kind of smooth those corners out. If I don't run out of water. But I do like these watercolor markers just because they dissolve so well. I mean, they really do. Some of the lines kind of show. That's why I go in the direction that I'm wanting to go with in here. But it does add pigment to the paper nicely. And one thing about this brush here, though, it likes to add bubbles to it. I don't know why. It's just the type of fur, and here it goes. Now, if you're wanting to do something and you don't want to create like you don't want to have the water down, you can also do it dry and then use these markers. So I'm going to show you a little part in here. This here is dry. And let's just say you just want to make some dots. And this is the dry part of the paper. And then I take my brush, get it nice and damp. And I just kind of work those little dots in. And when you work them in, they will I mean, it definitely has a lot of the watercolor kind of spacing out everywhere. Now, some of the dots may be in there, like they still kind of see them. So I still see some of the marks in there, just not that bad. But to get that pigment on the paper is really all I was wanting. So it kind of does a little bit better of a job, but I mean, you can still see some of the lines. It's just not so bad. But that's okay, because what I wanted to do was basically tone my paper. Now with the sky, I used more of a back and forth stroke in order to spread it. And then with the bottom here, I just use these little dots to add a little texture maybe into the ground. But as far as like the sky goes, on my other piece, it didn't really have so much of the marks in there because, I mean, right in here had some of the marks. As you can see, some of the dots were still in there. But it does add quite a bit of character to my piece. So that's why I was like, it doesn't really hurt it too bad. It still looks really cool and it gives it effect. So I will end up having to let that dry. But before I do let it dry, I came over the top with my watercolor here. Now, I was kind of, let's see here, move those over. My pencils are invading my paper towel. But I used a brush like this number 12, to kind of get my design here. And I know I say kinda, I did. This is what I did. So I wet my brush and then I didn't feel like using anything really on it. Like no sticking it in a palette, like sticking it where I should stick it, like in one of these little palettes and add in it. You can, but sometimes I just get a little lazy. And I'll just make my trees and bushes this way. That way I got a little bit more of a darker and lighter colors in there. And if I need to, I'll add some water to it to lighten it up. But if not, and I just use the edge of the brush to create some of these trees, maybe a little bush in here. So I'll just kind of go around, make this little bush kind of come out here, maybe attach another little bush in there. If you're wanting like something like a tree on the edge, like not really a tree, but like maybe one of those little cactusy trees or something, or another bush. Kind of make some that goes out. Got a little limbs. Maybe you want a little bit of more of a, maybe you want a spiky little tree. And just kind of creating a little texture. And so that's basically all I did with doing that. Now if I wanted to add a little bit more texture maybe in the background here, maybe put some of this in there. Come back in. If you want to loosen it up a little bit, just kind of add a little bit of water to it. I mean, like I said, it's just a background, so it doesn't really matter too much what you do. Just something. And so that's how I created like my background. It's just by adding in some of this. And I was just using a lot of my black here from my Winsor & Newton. And I use the markers just to kind of give a tone, even though it has these marks in there, a little bits of blue or whatever it is. Whenever you put your watercolor on top of it with this and just use your tubes, if you're wanting to lighten it, you just add some water to it, kind of wash those out. But you can create a really cool texture and a really good background setup. Now, the next thing I did was, in this picture, was I let it dry completely out. And of course it flattens when it dries. But after it got through drying it, I went ahead and had my drawing of what I wanted to do. And of course I want to lay it out. I don't want to draw directly on this. I want to have it on a piece of tracing paper. So get your drawing, whatever you're going to do, draw it on a paper, put it on, trace that image, and then put it on here after it's dry. Then use your transfer paper to go ahead and transfer your image onto here. Now, here's the thing that I wanted to know was, after I got through drying this, what could I use on top of it? What mixed media could you use on top of watercolor? And you don't want to do just regular watercolor on everything. If you wanted to do maybe color pencil, or maybe if you wanted to do, okay, I just had the computer skip out on me. But what if you wanted to do more of a artist pen kind of thing and use maybe ink on top of it? How would that work on top of watercolor? So that was basically what I wanted to get at. Color pencil or using that. Now I had done a swatch already using some of the watercolors here. Now this watercolor here has been dried out. I've used the Faber castell ink pens here to see what it would look like if I went on top of it with watercolor, on top of the watercolor with that black. And as you can see, it shows up the difference. You can see the watercolor kind of coming through in that dark. You can see the line right here of the dark. Sorry about my dry hands are cracking. So you can really see that. Over here on this orange one right here, I just took color pencil directly on top of it, one layer, and then I used my OMS on it. And as you can see, the watercolor is still showing through. But if I went down here on this, and basically what I did was I wanted to use this, but I took my, let's see here, and here I can show you right here. But what I did was I wetted it where I wanted to use my color pencil at. I wetted it and then I dried it with a paper towel. And what happens is when I did that, it ended up removing some of that watercolor and it lightened that watercolor. So in that area. So then I was able to take like something like my yellows right in here, and I was able to use them if it wasn't so blurry. I guess I can't focus. Let's stick my finger there. It'll want to look at my ugly finger. But I used the color pencil on it and the OMS, and you cannot see really any of the watercolor in there popping through. It really did a nice job of covering it. And then I added some orange in there kind of going over it, and it did very nicely. If it did have a little bit of a shade difference, that was no problem because I wanted it to have that kind of look. But I didn't want to have a whole line of watercolor underneath, making a whole distinct line underneath. And this one here kind of changed the color, so that didn't do very good. So the best thing I would say is using color pencil on top of your watercolor works very, very nicely. In this case, I use black and gray, which is some of the darker colors to use. And if you use the color pencil on top and take away some of the watercolor before you do that, letting it dry, it really does have a really good coverage to it. So that turned out nicely. So here is my piece right now that I was working on. Let me go ahead and remove this. And I went ahead and kind of loosened that up with my brush. I just loosened a little bit of it. And I did that, loosened it all up after I'd already put my transfer down. So my transfer was down, I drew it in, and then I took a brush with water, wetted it down, dabbed it out to try and remove some of the watercolor, the black on the watercolor. Now, I didn't really have to do too much on taking it all off or down too much on it, because on this side here, majority of this buzzard or whatever it is going to be black. And he does have some brown like in this area, so I just kind of squiggled in some lines of an area where it's going to be brown. I just kind of put this little marking right in here that's going to be black, or like more of a darker color or black. So you got these little marks here just kind of telling me, okay, this is where some of the brown's going to come in, this is some of the black's going to come in, and then it's going to be darker from here. I will be using more of my purples and some of the midnight black in there. So it's a bluish kind of color in these tones. But look at this coverage. I mean, it really did a really good job doing a coverage over the watercolor. So I am really impressed with how it did. It did a really good job. I got my whites in there. I got my grays. I don't know why my camera just it doesn't like it that close, I guess. But I did get very good coverage on top of the watercolor with my color pencils. The color pencils that I chose, that I have been working with on this piece, has been the Derwent Lightfast, and then I started pulling out some of my Caran D Ache luminance pencils. Those, I like those. So there's a lot of colors in those. So that's what I'm working with. But I think it was a really good experiment to kind of show you what I've done in order to get my color pencil to show up on top of watercolor, and how I removed some of that watercolor that I had after laying out what I was going to do on top of it. Other people may want to go ahead and use like Frisket and just go ahead and put their bird down, use Frisket, use some of the masking fluid, and do the whole 9 yards, so that way they have this perfect image of a bird out. Me, on the other hand, yes, I have Frisket. Okay, and I use it a lot of times. I can use it with my acrylic painting. I do like to use my Frisket, and I use airbrushing over it. Using it on paper, I mean, just doing something like this, I'm kind of lazy, and I don't want to have to go through all that just to get my bird on there. Using masking fluid, I tried it, and every time I use it, it's like I always end up getting outside of lines, and then I got all this jaggedy corners sticking out from the edges, and then I'm trying to refill it with watercolor around the edges, and it just turns into a whole big thing. And I did that with one of my other little birds that I did, but yeah, I didn't want to do the masking fluid part. It's a mess. To me, it's a mess. So, I just went ahead and did it this way. And even if the color kind of shows through or whatever it is, it's going to give it more of like a darker or lighter appeal. But as far as using my technique, I still got my bird to come through really, really nicely on top. The colors were very opaque. I did not have to use OMS on this so far. I just went ahead and kind of just burnished here and there. So no OMS on the bird. so far. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and work on this bird for now, and hopefully I will get him done. And maybe I might quite possibly, I'll try and videotape it while I'm doing it. So maybe I can toss it in as a bonus video finishing off this bird. So yeah, I was able to sum that up for you guys and kind of give you maybe possibly some more ideas on what you can do and trying to open up your imagination too. I didn't have a reference photo for this background whatsoever. I just went in with my watercolors. I just did whatever. It came out just how it did. Didn't even try and put any thought into it until I came to these bushes and started adding bushes and having fun with that, or creating little textures, that it made me think of it by looking at it as a desert. And whenever I saw that, I was like, oh, that would be so cool. What is in the desert? So then I started looking up pictures on Pixabay and just kind of getting ideas of what I could put in the desert. And this desert buzzard was there with his mouth open. And I thought, oh my God, that would look pretty cool. And I went ahead and got him on here. And so far, I think it's pretty neat. So yeah, I think that pretty much concludes this video. So sorry that it is a short video and that I didn't get to actually show you how I got to this point. That all got lost. So hopefully I can go ahead and get this computer working better the more I work with it, trying to get rid of more files, trying to make room, and that way I don't have this issue, because yeah, I guess it's the first time I've had an issue like this and I don't want to have it again. Thank you guys for still being here, being my subscribers. Please click the like and subscribe, as also definitely helps out my channel. And I am actually getting me another palette pack that will be delivered in April. So we are going to do another palette pack box opening. And yeah, super excited about that. Don't know what they're going to give me, but I can't wait to find out. I can't wait to open up that box. And I can't wait to give you guys 2 more videos too. So yeah, there's going to be more videos coming up. And this computer needs not to crash again. Oh my gosh, how horrible is that? All right, you guys, remember, click the like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, you guys.